Hello, and welcome back. Especially if those of you were just watching the last video I did. Since my battery's holding, I'm like, I'm enjoying this. I could talk about this all day long, and I got so many wonderful memories, especially from 15-year relationship, 20 years with Rebug, but definitely from other guys too that I don't even have to go very far with. Like, you're getting good when people are buying you drinks and giving you stuff, even though they know that there's going to be zero transaction out of that in terms of anything you're giving them. They just want to give it to you. That's a beautiful fucking feeling. Anyways, my next tip. I wanted to say my next trick, but my next tip. It's just a tip. You only want the tip in, right? Is that you really look, ladies, ladies, love a man as he is. If you're not in a place where you are emotionally secure enough to love a man as he is and love yourself through any of the spaces where he may not reciprocate things or maybe given time and attention to others, whatever it is, if you're not in a space where you can love yourself no matter what your partner does, you're not ready for a relationship. Flat out. I give the same advice to guys too, so don't be acting like I'm being unfair or nothing. This is a human thing. But I'm doing these videos with a specific niche because I want to. And because I am a lady. I am a feminine. And you know, it's good advice. So here's the thing. I see and I coach and I work with so many people, especially women. It's probably called towards me because I am a woman and I like to work with women in terms of helping them love their men better. And I am happy to say that I've helped a lot of women find their own personal inner peace and security to where they were able to be good with themselves. And at the point they were good with themselves, they were able to decide, am I with somebody that I actually can unconditionally love and want to stay with, or what did I put myself in a relationship with somebody that's where I was when I was more insecure and it's time to move on. And either way, they've definitely been happier, whether they stayed in their relationships or they went elsewhere. And I've always been that person that people have come to for relationship advice since I was probably about 12, which is funny. Like, way back to the should I hold his hand or not hold his hand? Should I ask him out or let him ask me out to study in the after school project? You know what I mean? Um, Anyways, maybe that's why I got onto this because people were asking me first, and part of me at the back then was like, when I figure it out, I'll let you know. But I don't know. It's something about starting out as the one who's like, I've never had a problem like getting into well, it's getting out of a few relationships is a little challenging. There's a couple of abusive ones, but like getting into them was never been a problem for me. My problem was self-esteem for a long time. And that's what I find is often most common for fellow feminines who are in relationships either with somebody that they do love and are intending to be with, and also in getting into new relationships. And so here's the thing, your capacity to love yourself as you are and still grow and still work on your own. And like, here's the thing, a lot of people will be, I love me as I am. But then one, they can't look in the mirror and say, I love you. You're adorable. And really mean it and not feel ooh about it. And those same women oftentimes will be also be the ones over there going, well, but he did this thing wrong, or that guy did this thing wrong, or he flirted with me in a fucked up way, or things like that. And you know what? All that shows me is that you don't feel good about you because a person that feels good about themselves has zero reason to talk anybody else down. Even if you're talking about truths to where, yeah, somebody may have done you wrong, but you don't have to cut them down. Ain't it enough that they cut themselves down with such ugly behavior? Let's talk about your integrity with you. You know what I mean? And to your capacity to be secure as who you are, no matter what anyone else is doing around you, whether the whole world is against you or for you or whatever thing, your capacity to be able to say, I love myself. Like, I'm going to enjoy doing this thing today. I'm hoping that that person will come with me, but if they don't, I'm still going to go do it anyways because I enjoy doing that thing. That's why I picked it. Like that sort of energy first of all, is going to attract you a partner who is in similar energy, and you're going to find that delicious, and you're both going to be able to reciprocally, build synergy on that energy. And if you end up with somebody that maybe you feel some strong feelings for them before you've gotten to know them, but after time you find that you're not as compatible that you were, a sign of you being emotionally secure is that you don't feel like the world is going to fall apart if you don't stay with them or if they don't change for you or oh my gosh, you might need to change jobs or move or do things with kids. It's life. It happens. This is a regular part of a lot of people's lives. If you melt down at every challenging situation that happens unless your partner changes something for you, you're the one that needs to work on the healing. If you get with a man and he is a playerly sort, if you don't find that attractive, then don't be with player sorts. Don't try to change him. Don't try to make him different. Because here's the deal, if he's capable of being able to change, he will do so when you are not forcing him to do so. He will do it naturally. And when you have trust in yourself and you love yourself as is, you're going to trust that you have a good pick of partners. And that even if you pick someone who maybe is in a different level of maturity to start with, that through life, over the years, because you shouldn't be worried about what happens tomorrow or next month or even in a few years. Think about the long term. And if you pick good partners and you trust yourself to pick good partners, then even when you go through the whole good times and bad, for better and for worse, that they're going to be able to come out of it. Because, ladies, I've seen a whole lot of you that otherwise in the rest of the world are really good people. But then, like when we have private conversations and you feel like you can be honest, you're telling me how stupid you feel your partners are. They're always leaving that thing out. They never pick up the towel. They always flirt with this person, or they're not giving you this attention, or they didn't give you 15 minutes of attention at a dinner 10 years ago. They missed this one thing that one time. They didn't compliment you on that new pants that you had. Like, even the fact that you're thinking that way shows you got some healing to do. And it also shows that either you're with somebody that you either one, you're not ready to be in a relationship. If you're not in a place where you could be in a relationship, you're like, I love this. Like, I'm not saying you love abusive shit. If you're with someone who's abusive, what's your excuse for staying with them? And if you feel like what they're doing is abusive, why are you contributing? Why are you enabling? Why are you still in it? And if you have challenges to answering that question, again, you need to look back at yourself and go look at maybe some attachment traumas. Get into some therapy with or without them because you should be doing it for you, right? So get to that space where you can love you as you are so you can love him as he is. That's one of the highest compliments I've had. My 15-year relationship with Rudy Bug, and including the 5 year, 4ish, I don't know, the math is weird, including the years before that to make it 20 years, and even during separation, has always told me how grateful and appreciative he is that I love him as he is. It was hard for him to believe even for a long time, especially because I typically am a very like divine, benevolent, only speaking nice things kind of person. I have always had not this shadow side, this is part of my light too, but like I've always had my opinions about things. He also loves those things about me. And I've had people before him. I've had people before him that I had like what I thought was just like an NSA sort of arrangement come to me years and years later and say that they were sorry because they just decided it was done and moved on to different relationships and that they'd been thinking about me the whole time and they felt bad that they never thought maybe I wanted more and stuff like that. It took me years to realize the problem was they wanted more. I was never unclear. I've always been the one who set the dynamics of the kind of relationship I want from the beginning, even before I got into kink and understood what negotiation of a relationship really should and it looks like if it's healthy, right? But I know what I want. Like, and sometimes I question it, sometimes I waffle on it, but and part of it's a Capricorn thing, part of it's a type 8 Enneagram thing, but it's also a self-love thing, okay? When you love yourself, you're not in a constant position of where you're like, "Oh my gosh, who am I outside of a relationship?" When you love yourself and you're in a good place of loving you as you are, you don't get dramatic too much. You're human. You're going to have your moments, but typically you're going to be fine. And you're going to be a pretty stable, feminine pretty, wonderful, stable lady. Do you know how attractive that is to most guys? Even if you end up with a guy who is from a backstory where he's used to dramatic women, do you know how much you're gonna amaze him when those women come in and try to do their thing and you're like, I ain't worried, honey, I know who you're going home with. Like, do you know how attractive that is? And also, you know what? If he comes with the anxieties, he comes with, I don't care if he drinks. I don't care. Like, I'm very libertarian. I'm very open to dynamics, polyamory, open all that shit. Like, don't don't try to get with somebody to change them. Get with somebody to understand their story. Decide if you want to be involved in their story, and look for a way to blend that. If you've got a guy that flirts a lot and likes to keep old relationships, maybe you want to talk about some sort of a ethical non-monogamous relationship, or maybe you keep monogamy, but you allow flirtationships because then you get to flirt too. Who doesn't love flirting, right? And as long as you're being consensual with the other people you flirt with and making sure that they know that that's all it is, and that if it makes them uncomfortable, feel like there's something else there, then you're going to hold the boundary and not flirt with them. Like, that's a very simple, easy thing to do, right? But either way, like, if you got a player sort, if you got someone who's got social anxiety, stuff like that, like, I think a lot of people get into toxic dynamics because they get with someone who, yeah, they did come from an unhealthy background. It's very likely that you also did. But then you get in there and you replay each other's traumas because you're trying to have fights with each other that your parents had fights with each other when you were younger, and you don't even remember half of it, and then it just drives you batty, right? But when you do your healing, you do your shadow work, you look at you, and you look for good and you find those things in there, then even if you end up with somebody that, like, maybe they were all good in the beginning and it seemed like they were wonderful, and then suddenly you find out they have all these bad habits, you got a choice. Look, you could sit there and be like, oh, I found another bad partner, or you could go to a place to be like, you got to change that for me, that's not the way you should be in a relationship. Or you could sit there and go, okay, like, this is a little early on, but I see that they're nervous, or they don't like to go out so much, or they do like to flirt with other ladies. Like, how do I feel about that? Like, am I comfortable with that? Like, okay. For me, it's like, yeah, I mean, I communicated early on when relationships were like that. Like, look, I would just like to have an adequate amount of attention also. Like, and make sure you're saying good things about me when you're over there gossiping with your flirty ladies. And he did. He did lots of girls. They all talk me up. Because you know how attractive that is? Like, I've had so many different, like, I've only had one person literally say, it is my Rudy Beck say, I love the way that you love me, but I've had it communicated to me in so many different ways. And you don't have to be sexual to do that. Although, it definitely earns extra bonus points and has smiles on guys' faces, but you don't have to do that. You can just be naturally amazing and comfortable in your skin, knowing that, you know, yeah, like, you could have an ideal in your mind of a long-term relationship that you would like, but let me ask you, how old are you? Are you 20? Are you 30? Are you 40? Are you 50? Are you 60? You still got time. There's no rush. And you know how attractive it is for a man to be with a woman, a lady that is not in a rush? Oh man, I've had guys that still check in with me from time to time because they're more interested in what things that I am doing in my own time while I am not bothered or worried about what they're doing. And when they reach out to me, I'm not a jerk to them. I like, unless they do something that, like, violates my consent or they're rude or something, and in that case, I still don't hate them for it. I just recognize that that's where they're at in their level of maturity. And, like, if I don't want to interact with that, I don't. If they try to keep going, I shut it down nicely. Like, no, not happening. Goodbye. You know, thank you for your time in my story. Done. It's very simple. Like, and there's a lot of this world and stuff that where, yeah, you can get tricked and hurt, but if you're constantly worried about that, you're gonna be the first person to walk right into that mess. Like, you want to get to a place to where you are comfortable with who you are as is. You're comfortable if you get hurt sometimes or things don't go the way that you'd like. Comfortable when you're supported and unsupported. Comfortable when you're getting attention, when you're not getting attention, when you see other people getting attention that you'd like. Compersion is a really, really awesome skill that everybody needs to practice. Like, it means when you see another human being getting gratification or affection or appreciation from other human beings that you experience, not just that you train yourself to go, okay, I like that. No, that you actually feel good for them. Like, if you see You have a cousin and a friend and they hug when they meet each other, say hi, how do you do? You usually feel pretty good about that, right? So you should also feel that way, say if your partner greets an old friend and wants to hug them. Feel good for them. They're getting some well-deserved affection. What is wrong with that? Do you really feel so insecure that you can go to a place where you're like, "Oh, that might mean something?" Why? You're just calling that in. There's no reason for that. And if you feel like that's necessary or you have trouble controlling that, that's what therapy is for. That's what chakra rebalancing is for. That's what friendship is for. That's what spending time with yourself is for, you know? I think I'm going to go ahead and leave this here. But yeah, ladies, please, feminines, love a man as is. I don't care if he's wrapped up in karmic messes. I don't care if he's in jail, out of jail. I don't care if he's being nice or mean. If you say that you love him, you need to love him as is, and you need to hold space that he like. Why would you pick somebody that you fear would never change? Like that's a problem that starts with you. If you don't have faith that he can grow and overcome any sort of shit that is kind of a deal breaker levels for you, then he's not your man. If you do feel that way, then show him that fucking respect and that confidence. Show him that you have faith in him to do all the things without telling him. I'm not saying don't communicate anything, but don't be passive aggressive. Be like, I'm not going to tell you. Like, I've been in that place, so it doesn't do any good if I tell you. No, don't do that. Be in a place of, I don't need to tell him. And if he feels like he would like some assistance from me, I know he'll ask in a way of communicating in his choosing. And I trust that I will understand that communication when it occurs, whether it's a perfect right in front of my face way or whether it's a little ambiguous. Ambiguous? Ambiguous. um, but, like, love him as he is. If he's somebody who's married and you've been doing stuff on the side, love him as he is. If he's somebody that's always constantly busy working, love him as he is. If you like to drink, love him as he is. And have good boundaries for yourself. Because a lot of people go, well, if I love him as is unconditionally, then I eat shit. Well, that's you. Why are you doing something that makes you miserable? If you don't like it when he drinks, have him drink by himself and you can go crochet yourself a hat. Like whatever you got to do to make you happy, because you should not be with a man under the assumption that it is his responsibility to manage all your emotions and make sure you're always happy. That's not what relationships for, and that's certainly not love. And if you're with someone who expects that to do with that with you, you should be in a confident enough place to say, sir, I'm not responsible for your emotions, and that's not the kind of relationship that I signed up for that I'm going to continue to have with you. Because while I'm certainly never going to make threats that, like, if you don't treat me how I want to, that I'm going to leave, I am going to tell you that I am confident to know that I can be comfortable without this relationship, whether or not I decide to have another one. Do you know how sexy as fuck that is when you have that kind of energy with a man? That's much more likely to attract you a divine masculine, for one. So much more likely to awaken and activate a divine masculine, for two. And if you're not in the twin flame journey or starseed journey or anything like that, it's simply very likely to show any man that you want to engage with, no matter what state of maturity or mess of the life that he's in, that you are worth him wanting to share stuff with you. Because you're not going to be the type who needs to take it. You're not going to be the type who's going to chase him around inappropriately. Some guys like to chase. Don't be in a place where you're unwilling to play the game. The game is fun. Play the game. But be in a space where you don't need to. And that if he does go to a space of immaturity, if he drops into a dark night of soul or something, you can let him handle his business. Love him as he is, ladies. Or take space and recognize you're not ready for a relationship if you're picking guys that you don't like the way they are when they tell you in the beginning exactly who the fuck they are, if you're listening. All right, y'all. I love you. I'll see you in the next video.